Hello, welcome back. Look at the white pieces and e4, e5. E4, e5. Let's get crazy and play a King's Gambit. This is the line I don't like, the King's Gambit. Okay. All right. Let's figure out what we're gonna do here. We'll develop the knight to attack here and protect here. And let's bring our bishop out. And then get castled. Gonna add another attacker here. Win his pawn back. He's running a little bit of a risk, though. Okay. I might think about this move now. Okay, he gets castled. Get this center open up. He takes with the pawn, I take with the queen, and I've protected my central pawn. I have broken the pin. So I think I've come out of this pretty good, actually. Pawn up. When I was trying to gambit upon myself. Okay, he swaps off the bishop for the knight, which takes away a defender and wins his pawn back. Comes to the center, then I've got a chance to defend it again. So he probably needs to take it with a knight. This knight's the worst knight, so I need to get my bishop developed and get the other rook in the game. And I think my problems are solved for now. I've got a advanced pawn giving me more space, but it's kind of a target for him, and I have to maintain. I think he could have won it back right there, but he didn't need to attack my queen. I think it might have been better for him to just win back his material. Now it's going to be difficult for him. He can lift the queen and bring a rook, but I can bring a rook also. The only bad deal is I've got so many pieces tied up in defending a pawn. I'd like to find a little opportunity to get this knight moved and push the c pawn to fortify my d pawn. Maybe I could consider pushing f5 to pin the knight, but now I can't pin the knight anymore. So he's going to bring a rook. So maybe I can pin the knight again. Giving up either of these squares matter much to me now? I don't think so. I think having scope for my bishop might be more important. I think I might be defending it through tactics if I can pin the knight. So if he takes, I take, he takes back. Okay, he's got the rook with this way. Okay. And if I attack the rook, then this pawn hangs. If I attack the knight, he takes. I take, he takes. I take, he takes. I push. He might win his pawn back here. Which, okay. Can live with that, I suppose. Let's attack the knight. You might have this intermezzo in here somewhere. And I can't even push because the bishop will hang. The rook is on that rank. But it does allow me the opportunity to pin whatever lands on this square to the queen. You can fortify it with a pawn. So maybe I take once. If he takes, I take back. He takes, I pin, and then I have the c4 push to attack it with a pawn. Okay. Seems good. Seems like I'm holding things tactically here. And what is he going to do? By the sheer numbers, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers on this pawn, and I have 3 defenders. It's on the surface of things, he wins the pawn. But I think tactically he can't do that because I'm going to pin it after taking once, and then I'm going to attack it with a c4 push. So what does he do instead? I'm threatening to take the pawn and ruin the kingside, or take the knight and ruin the kingside structure. Is his option to he can defend it with the bishop, or he can move the knight. But there's not a great place to move the knight. Gets taken here, 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 or by taking the pawn. He does not want to move it to the back rank. I wouldn't think. That's not an ideal spot. And if he does move it, I just push the pawn. No, I can't push the pawn. The bishop hangs. I cannot push the pawn immediately. I back the bishop up, and then maybe he goes here. Oh, he self-pins. He self-pins. Okay, in order to avoid this pin. But then this knight is immobile now, and it can't take. So he can't take this pawn at the moment. Can I take the knight? If I take the knight and queen takes bishop, do I have knight to e4 attacking the queen and the bishop? Queen comes back to defend the bishop. I take, he takes, and then I can push. The bishop's not hanging anymore because it's not there. I take, he takes with a queen. Knight e4. Queen back to e7. What about pushing immediately and attacking the queen again? I want to take. Now do I have this push? Attacking the queen immediately. He's got to come back, and I take this pawn. Attacking the queen again. So he takes with the king. That's really an exposed king at this point. I like my position a lot. That was a good find. I'm glad I found that push before taking the bishop. He takes with the pawn. So now I can take the bishop or I can take the pawn. Check the king. If I take a bit, let's see. So the knight's hanging. I've got to do something with the knight or check the king. Simple check. He just goes to the corner and he's opened up the G file for his rook to come in. So that's not ideal. If I take the pawn and I check the king, he moves. And maybe, do I have queen h3? He pushes the pawn to h5. I can take it with the knight. I think I take this pawn, check. Comes this way. Okay. He's given me another pawn. But that opens up a line towards my king. I don't know that that pawn is worth taking. I mean, it's a pawn. A pawn is a pawn is a pawn, but if I take it and I drive his king further into the center, I come back, I check him again, he gets into the middle of the board and opens up this rook. That just seems like it gives him counterplay. So I'm going to leave the pawn alone. And I mean, I can threaten mate in one. I just go queen g3 and I threaten mate in one. He has to move his queen to create space for the king to run. If I just open up the bishop, I just sack this pawn to open up the diagonal for the light square bishop, attack the queen, say either one, bishop to probably queen takes, just to create running room for his king. Then I can check here and snag this pawn, because the queen wouldn't be on the pawn. So if bishop takes pawn, I still check. The king runs here. So d6, bishop takes d6. Well, bishop takes pawn first. I don't think the queen, if queen takes, check wins the queen because it's pinned. Can't take the knight. So I'm going to open up this line for the bishop. Potentially this other rook too. Pawn was more of a blockade for me than it was for him. Now I can pawn, I think. And this starts to look very scary for black. I don't think he can take it with either piece. That doesn't accomplish anything, does it? Can I just check him over here? Forces the king here. Then the queen and the rook coordinate on this square to block. Oh, but my knight does too. So king's forced here. Queen here, check. If rook blocks, oh, that opens a discover on my queen. So I want to check from here, not here, because that discovered attack on my queen would ruin my attack. So queen g4 check, rook blocks, knight takes, rook. I win the rook. If he takes the knight with the king, then I've got mate coming, I think, with queen g6, king h8, and queen h6. That's mate. So he blocks. I take. He brings his knight over to check to. Oh, he just lets me have mate. He missed mate. I think he had a better shot by giving up the rook and then bringing his knight over. Mate in one. Good game. I like sharp tactical games like that. Good game, friend. Oh, yay, that cracked me over the 1800 mark finally again. All right, onward to 1900 now. Quick review of the game. Not a super accurate game from either one of us, but it was King's Gambit. That's what you expect when you play King's Gambit. So, two blunders by my opponent, and three misses by me. Says that's a mistake. Given the edge to white, I wonder what I should do instead. Just give him. Oh, okay, that's an idea. That's an idea. I don't like that idea because it blocks the bishop in. What am I going to do with that bishop? And the knight. It's the only square for the knight. Well, here. I guess the idea is to get castled queenside. Oh, and this bishop attack here too. I guess the pawn is pinned though, so I can block here. I can bring the knight out and block because the bishop can't move. But if he just develops, the pawn's no longer pinned. And I'm looking at this. I don't like that move. I'm gonna have to like really look into that before I play that. Not a natural looking move at all. Calls this a miss. I shouldn't have castled. One of the few times castling is a miss. I should have attacked the bishop. He can't retreat it because then I'll just trap it. So he's got to go back. He can't even go back there. So he has to take the knight here. Bishop takes knight is the only move. And then I develop my queen and then I castle. Calls that a mistake too. Inaccuracy. Does it want me to check? I think it wants me to check. If bishop blocks, I mean, I don't even have to respond to it because knight can take. But then that starts to feel like this pawn is pretty loose. I'm up a pawn though, so piece development is more important. Okay, he checks. And I feel really good in this position. I'm up half a point of material on the eval. I'm glad I liked that move. I was happy with that move too. He calls this a mistake. And this is a miss. Oh wow. Okay. There's no light square bishop on the board, so this diagonal, I'm a little more comfortable opening that up, but wants me to kick that with a pawn, protect this with a pawn. I don't have this well, maybe I do have this tactical idea with the queen supporting the rook and pinning whatever piece lands here. That is a blunder. And that's a miss. I have a winning idea here. It hangs this pawn. What's the idea here? I'm confused. What is the idea if rook takes pawn? G4, kick the rook. And rook takes f4 because rook has no other moves that it's not going to be lost. So all of these squares are guarded. Rook takes bishop. I get the exchange for a pawn and a bishop. Okay. All right, I can buy it now, but not an easy move to find. A blunder, because this was an excellent move. I'm very happy I found that move. Quite proud of that. So that calls that a good move, and it's a good move. What's my better idea? Just threatening mate immediately is an idea. I suppose the queen has to go back to create running room for the king, and now the king's only move is here, and the queen and bishop coordinate on this. So yeah, that's very effective. You might have to give the queen up here to avoid mate. I think he does have to give up the queen here to avoid mate. If the queen comes back, there's no other move that doesn't give up the queen. Knight, knight, bishop. So if the queen goes back trying to save itself, then queen here, check, king here, queen takes, checkmate. Yeah, the queen is lost. Okay. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed a good King's Gambit. Normally I don't play it in the 15-minute time control, but it is fun to play every once in a while. One of these days I'm going to get really, really brave and I'm going to play it over the board. See how that goes. Thanks for watching. Come back and enjoy some more chess with me.